lash attachment, and this is a little bit different from classic lashing to volume lashing. So I will talk about classic lashing to start with. So let's say we have, let me draw this onto the piece of paper. We have our eye and then we have our natural lash. Okay, so we have our eye there and the natural lash is coming out right there. And now you want to attach another single synthetic lash on top. And then you now want to put your your synthetic lash on there. So something, and this is the perfect attachment, yeah? So something that we want to make sure of is that we are still away from the lash line. Like you want to have about a 0.5 mil gap here. And you don't want to start the lash somewhere over here because it will, from here, that would be too far away because then this will weigh down, okay? You also want to make sure that you have at least a third of the lash from here to there attached to the lash, the natural lash. If this is the natural lash and you only have like this much attached, there's not enough attachment area in here. You want to have at least about a third of the length of the synthetic lash, and you want to make it attachment flat and then come out. You also don't want to have this sort of attachment, like let's say this is the natural lash and then you have a synthetic lash. You don't want to have it all the way attached either because that will make it really kind of crunchy and just too hard, and it won't be as fluffy anymore and it will move around a lot. So I'm just showing this now with some pens. So let's say this is the natural lash, this is the synthetic lash. We want to avoid this. You want to have at least a third attached and then it needs to come off like in a really nice sweepy motion. I always talk a lot about lash direction in my courses, and if you haven't got the attachment properly done, then the lashes will lean over or they will stick out or they may look too heavy, too crunchy and too fat and too big. Another thing with the attachment is that you don't use too much adhesive. If you use too much adhesive, you will have the drop of glue like going into the lash line here. You want to have it just raised. If this is the natural lash and you have this much glue on there, all this glue will seep into the lash line and will leave a big blob at the beginning, at the base of the extension. And that's really dangerous because you actually get a lot of stickies and you may even get it attached to the skin, and then the clients will have a lot of pain as they're growing out. And you have little neighboring lashes being pulled out as well. And so the right amount of glue is, you are literally, it's not just seamless, like you can still see that you have attached, that you have dipped some glue in it, but it doesn't have obvious blobs or anything like that. Yeah, that makes sense? It's not completely seamless because if you're not very fast at lashing, that will be dry by the time you get to the lashes, and then the client will complain in 2 days that all of her lashes have fallen out. So you do want to see that you have some glue on there, but it can't be very, very obvious and blobs. It depends where you are from. What is the humidity where you are and what is the temperature? Because the glue actually dries or sets or polymerizes with moisture. So if we have a room that is too humid, then the glue can set too fast, even though you think it's fine because it attaches and it lasts. But as you're brushing through, sometimes you can see a few popping off again. And then, like I said earlier, in 1 or 2 days, if the client calls you, they may have fallen out already. And that's usually an indication that they, it just has dried too fast. 50 is actually quite a good humidity because a lot of adhesives work around 45 to 55 really well. And the higher the humidity gets, the faster they will set, and the lower they get, the slower they will set. For eyelash technicians that do volume lashing, low humidity is actually a killer. It's awful because the fans will close up because the glue just does not dry. And if it's too hot, it's bad for volume as well as for classic artists because it just sets too fast and you can't get a proper wrap or attachment, side attachment or whatever attachment you're working with, and they will fall out. If you can drop your temperature, I would lower that temperature between 20 and 23 degrees Celsius. Lash glue also sets very, very fast with hotter climates, yeah. Humidity is one area that you need to look at, but temperature, if it's that hot, it will not work. Also, if you are storing your lash glue anywhere that is around that temperature all the time, you can literally chuck it out after a week. It will get stringy. The best way to keep your lash glue is under 20 degrees at all times. Once it's open, I used to store it in the fridge in an airtight container. I don't anymore. I just have it in my coolest room in the house. And if I have something that's unopened, I usually put it in the fridge and even the freezer, because the lower the temperature actually slows down the polymerization process. So that's about the lash attachment. Like, if you don't get that attachment right, you need to have at least a third attached, nice and diagonal to the lash line, so it comes up at 90 degrees or 45 or whatever you want on the outer corner.